Hey YouTube, how's it going today? How are you? How is your day? Thank you so much for joining me. Behind me, you can see one of my husband's helmets. He has lots of stormtrooper helmets, and that one does not get covered by the blur because of the orange. But yeah, it's a really cool helmet, and I'm not gonna move it. It looks cool there, and I want to leave it there. So we're going to see some orange behind us, and I think that's cool. There's already 7 people here. Aw, Lori is sick and may or may not make it to the live. That's okay, Lori. Thank you so much for sending us a message, and I hope you feel better really soon. Hi, Marie. Oh, Marie, thank you for volunteering in the comments. I really, really appreciate that. I'm going to talk about moderation in just a second. Hi, Charlie. Oh, Jenny's here. Hi, Jenny. And hi, Gary. Ooh, so we have a couple people here. Oh, hi, Charlene. Oh, yeah, it's a good video. It's for sure a good video. I'm really excited for this. Hi, Red Wing. So many people. Woohoo. Thank you for being here. So there's a few people here who volunteered to be a mod, which is so appreciated. Feel free if you change your mind or you just don't want to do it. You can either tell me and I can remove you, or you can just chill out. Like, don't feel obligated to do any modding if you don't feel like it, or if you're just like not wanting to deal with that. Apparently there's a raid from Julie, Joe, and Aaron. Woo, that's awesome. Howdy, hi DC, hi Ove. Need me to mod? I think we're good. I think we're good right now, but I may add you later. I'll let you know if I do. Thank you so much for asking. So if anyone who volunteered to be a mod and doesn't know how to, there are 3 little dots to, I think, the right of the viewer's name. And my ground rules for today, in the case that we have some of those friends come back, if there is any mention at all about the conversation that we had 2 days ago on my stream, we can just time them out first, and then we can block them. And so anyone who volunteered to be a mod, literally any mention of it, I don't even want to talk about it. zero talk about it. You can just time them out. And then if they talk about it again, they come back, you can block them. Does that make sense? And oh, there's so many friends here. Woo, hello. Hello, hi, Delaney and Sina and Angela and Brandy and Julie and Pam. Charlene says, I'm ready for them, Heather. Thank you. I'm going to assume that we don't need mods, and this is going to be a one-time thing. But my dad was saying that, like, good idea just to have some mods just in case, and we can always like get rid of the modding later. I'm going to assume I don't need it. I'm going to assume for sure. It's your channel. We're here to support you and protect you in the space you've created. Thank you. I appreciate that there's people who like respect my boundaries and understand how important it is. Oh, Janessia is here. Hi, Janessia. Hi, Erin. Thank you for the raid. That's so nice and so appreciated. I'm very grateful for that. Thank you. Coconuts and Lewis and Don Daisy. Awesome. So anyone who volunteered to be a mod, if you have any questions, just tell me. Ask away if you'd like, and then you can, just ask me questions if you want. But I think the ground rules are pretty straightforward, and I'll reiterate that as the time goes on, so people know, like our friends from the last stream know what kind of behavior is not accepted here. Yeah, it's always good to have a few mods for sure. Exactly, Brandy. Better to have them and not need them. Exactly. And again, let me know if you don't feel like being a mod and you want me to remove you, or just chill. It's totally fine. Like, don't feel like you have to do anything. So this is a video I have. I was just practicing getting ready for this, and it was cutting in and out constantly. And so I have a backup in my head if we need to change the direction of the video. So if you've been on my channel for a long time, you would have remembered all of my Net Ready videos, where they are a consulting company based in South Africa that helps people open up their own MLM businesses. So it's geared to like MLM CEOs, people who are ready to open their doors of their MLM. They are based in South Africa. And this is Richard Sletcher telling us about how to open up our MLM in Africa, not just South Africa, but in the entire continent of Africa. So I think if it works, it'll be a really good video. If it doesn't work, I can leave the link and you guys can go watch it. You guys can go watch it yourself because I think it's an interesting video. Oh, hi, Jessica and Rivka, and hi, Timber Dan. And oh yeah, new YouTube record for most heart emojis. Yeah. Hi, everyone, and Heather also subscribe. Thank you, wee sweet God. That is so nice of you. I really appreciate that. So yeah, 1.25 speed because he talks really slow. Okay, I'm ready. I hope it works because it's a cool video.
Hello and welcome to MLM for CEOs. Today I'd like to spend some time talking to you about doing business in Africa. I've been working in Africa for over 30 years, and the good and the ugly, and I can certainly give you some real insights into what happens in the African continent when doing business, specifically in the multi-level marketing space.
He's from South Africa, so I do appreciate he born and raised in Africa and telling us how to open up an MLM business in the continent. But there are, I Googled this earlier, there are 54 countries in Africa. How many? How many countries in Africa? I just Googled it. I'm pretty sure it's 54 countries. Yeah, 54. So I see someone asked me to put the volume up a little bit. I have zero skills with this stuff. He just talks very, very quietly, unfortunately. So that is as loud as I can get it. I'm really sorry about that. Sorry. Thank you for asking, though. I don't have any technical skills. So I do appreciate he's born in Africa, but with the 54 countries across Africa, there's no way that we can just give a blanket statement about how we can open up a certain type of business in Africa, because there are extremely diverse cultures and languages, ways of life, different kinds of economies, different kinds of social structures, different kinds of religion, different geographies that's going to impact how products can actually get to someone's door. He's going to talk about people who are unbanked, so they don't have a bank account. He's going to talk about lack of infrastructure in some places. Ove just said each country has its own laws. Exactly. It's just such a diverse place that I struggle to comprehend this advice as being relevant across the entire continent. Does that make sense? Yes, Larry Winters. I need to do a video on Larry Winters for sure. For sure. Feels kind of gross. It's generalized to Africa too. Exactly. I completely agree. Oh, thank you, Erin. That's so nice. Okay. Yeah, like Africa has enough problems. And I'm not going to claim to be, if you lower your volume, we can raise the volume for the whole stream and hear both evenly. How do I do that? How do I do that? I don't know if I know how to do that. I've never lowered my volume on my mic before. Okay, I'll give it a try, Julie, and can you guys let me know if it's okay? Boop, boop, boop. Okay, I think I lowered it. Can you let me know if that made a difference? What was I talking about? I don't remember. Oh yeah, I'm not claiming to be an expert in Africa. It's too general. It's too general, too unique and diverse of an area. And also for people who are living in poverty in Canada, United States, or otherwise, the last thing they need is an MLM business structure where they are going to lose money. They are going to lose. They will. Exactly. Talk about Africa as if it is one country. Exactly. Okay, yeah. I tried. Let me know if it's okay. That's funny, Brandy. My eyeballs have been causing me issues for the past several months, and it's just easier for me just to keep my sunglasses on while I stream. Okay, I wonder if he'll take into account different places, describe higher status to public versus non-public workers, and explain how that could severely limit prestige and potential. That's a brilliant, brilliant question. MLM companies need to set up in places like Africa because most people in countries like Australia and US know it's a scam. Interesting perspective, of course. Let's keep going.
So there's currently about 1.2 billion people in Africa. So there's a huge population that you can tap into, a lot of people. And the beauty is that they're basically broken into two segments. On the one side, you've got people who are desperate for opportunity, where you can provide them a means to put food on their table and a roof over their heads. And on the other side, you've got this big emerging middle class, which is coming into their own and is there to be able to consume the products that you have. Now, obviously,
I'm thinking of poverty in my own area, those who are desperate for opportunity, people in Canada, just like in any developed area who experience poverty. It could be different levels of poverty. It could be that they are in low income and only live paycheck to paycheck, and maybe they have to go to a food bank. It could be that they live on the streets. It could be that they're couch surfing. There's different varying degrees of poverty. But in my understanding, if we were to go up to people who live on the streets in major Canadian cities and offer them an MLM, we are just asking for them to be victimized, to be exploited, because not only does this person living on the street need to be able to buy into the MLM business structure, they also need to find the money to continue to buy in month after month when there are other things that people living on the streets need to worry about, like food, like water, like finding a safe place to sleep. If they're in the position where they can start to plan how they want to get off the streets, then they have other things to worry about too. Maybe they're talking to a social worker, to as a housing worker. Maybe they're trying to figure out how they can get into a safe, secure apartment or house. And extremely financially vulnerable people do not need to be targeted by MLMs. That's my point. And I just can't stand this. Yeah, two different populations, those who are extremely desperate and scared, and those who may have previously been desperate and scared, but are now in the middle class and are wanting to make sure that their families have a secure financial upbringing and that all their needs are met. Either way, it's exploiting people's vulnerabilities. I am very blabbery. For a majority of people in Africa, south of Sahara, the struggle is putting any food on the table. Exactly. A lower percentage of people in Africa. Yeah, great point. MLM is fraud. He's going to bring that up. Great point. Whereabouts are you? I'm in Goderich, Ontario area. Ooh, I've never said on here exactly where I am other than western portion of the country. So like west-ish. But that's cool. Yeah, we have lots of Canadians who watch my channel for sure. You have some knowledge about Africa? Cool. I do not have knowledge of Africa. So if anyone knows, let me know and share your knowledge. It's setting them up for failure even more than normal. Exactly. How can you sell an unhoused person? How can an unhoused person sell some life-changing opportunity? They should just be worried about food and clothing, right? I'm just shocked. Ethiopia built a dam and is trying to activate it to give half its population electricity. The audacity to think that a product-based pyramid scheme will help in any way. Exactly. Okay, let's keep going.
You've got to be careful. The products that you put into the market need to resonate with the market. So you need to do your market research. You have to have the right product, the right story, a perfect compensation plan for the space, and then, of course, the right local advice, somebody who can actually point you in the right direction, because this is a minefield and obviously you need to navigate it without getting blown up, if you know what I mean. It's not for the faint.
It's a minefield because it's such a diverse place with extremely diverse cultures and laws and currencies and languages and people who need to worry about putting food on their table as well, just like in everywhere. But he literally said it's great because there's lots of extreme poverty, right? So why are we pitching people living in extreme poverty in Africa or in Toronto, Canada, Why would we pitch people living in extreme poverty who can't afford to put food on their table this opportunity where they are destined to fail? It doesn't really matter where it is. Oh, I'm already frustrated. Not to mention the fact, that there are 54 countries in Africa. You have to navigate 54 different legal codes. I should actually let him talk because he's going to get into it. I'll let him talk for at least a minute before I pause.
Of heart, but I believe it's the next new wave in terms of multi-level marketing. I think this is where the MLM space is going to explode and going to get real traction. And I'm already seeing it here. We're currently busy with a project in South Africa, and it has just taken off like there's no tomorrow. We're signing up thousands of people a month. The business is growing at incredible speeds, and we are going to be pushing that business into Central Africa, into India, and then into the Pacific Rim, and exploring all of those emerging markets. And I believe that there's a real opportunity here for companies with an appetite for this kind of trading, and also with the skills to avoid the traps that are really rough in the industry.
So, Gary, that's a really good point. But there's also an issue with those mostly female-led micro businesses where, say, you have several women in the same neighborhood, the same community, all opening up a small like fruit or vegetable stand, or where they sell certain goods that they make. There is a big issue with the demand because you have an oversupply of a certain type of product, but you don't have enough people willing to buy said product. So there are quite a bit of back in the day, I remember learning about harms of micro businesses and those loans because oftentimes some women are not able to pay those loans back. I don't remember all of the details of that, but just similar with lack of demand based on those businesses, if you have 30 people in the same neighborhood all pushing Amway or all pushing Tupperware, like he's going to reference later, it's going to be a lot harder for those people to actually make headway in their business because you actually need people who have the resources and the ability to join this company, not only join it, but continue to pay in month after month. And just like if you were trying to sell this to the unhoused population in Toronto and they only know other unhoused people, how are those unhoused people in Toronto going to pay into the system? Oh, I'm already annoyed. My former colleague takes and writes 7 languages. Wow, how cool. It's easier to get a person into an MLM who's living in poverty. The poorer the country, the easier to recruit. Makes sense. The only African country that Amway has a presence in that I'm aware of is South Africa. Interesting. What products would most of the population need? Tupperware or diet aids? Really, how can this be feasible beyond being incredibly unethical? Yeah, that's a good point. He's saying you need to study the market, but what does the market really need? People living in poverty need to be able to put food on their table and pay their bills.
Specifically in this continent. So a couple of challenges. Let's start with the big one. How do you get money? There's a real challenge because a lot of people are unbanked. So what happens is, how do you get your money from the client? Now, there's some real innovative solutions. In Central Africa, there's a process called the M-Pesa. Was it called M-Pesa? If I can remember correctly, it's M-P-E-S-A. And what that does is it uses your cell phone to make payment. Now, I can hear you saying, oh, that's normal. You know, I go along with my Apple and my Apple phone, my iPhone, and I tap it and I make payment. Well, it's not like that at all. With your iPhone, when you tap, it takes the money off your credit card. So your credit card is linked to your iPhone, and your iPhone is used as the gateway. That's not how it works at all with M-Pesa. What happens is, I've got $100 worth of airtime and I want to buy something from you for $10, and I shunt $10 of airtime to you, and the airtime becomes the currency. The companies pay their commission in airtime, the people pay each other in airtime, and the currency is flowing around. So you can use your cell phone to buy anything, but you're not using actual dollars. You're using airtime as a sort of a placeholder for the money. So
for people in Canada who don't have a bank account, the last thing they need is someone pitching a scam to them. What they may need is help from a professional like a social worker or a volunteer financial advisor to help them figure out how to set up a bank account, how to make sure, like, how to use it properly and the benefits of it. We don't need to be pitching people without a bank account as a scam business structure where they're going to lose money. How about instead of this, sir, we can do some financial education, investigate how to make banking more accessible and easy to understand for the majority of people in the different African countries. Why don't we focus on education instead of figuring out a workaround for all of those people who don't have a bank account? Because I think Ove said this earlier, there's a big stigma around those who are unhoused in everywhere, Canada, US, right? And the big thought process is just, why can't they go get a job, right? But then for an unhoused person to get a job, they will need a bank account unless the employer pays them in cash. They will need probably like a house. They will need an address to go into their tax information. They will need clothes to go, like nice clothes to go to the interview. They may need transportation to get to their job, right? They don't need a scam. They need support to meet their basic needs so they can get and maintain a job. Scam aids meditation is a big problem in some parts of Africa today. So that's perhaps a good MLM to start. Oh, the last thing people with financial issues needs is any MLM, sir. Exactly, Jenny, exactly.
There's innovative solutions. Another one is in South Africa, we've got companies like Payat. Now, what they do is when the order gets placed on the system, a barcode gets sent to the IBO or the customer. They then take that barcode into the local retail stores, the big retailers. The retailer scans the barcode, takes the cash from the client, and as soon as they ring up that sale, the APIs fire off a webhook to the system to tell the system, listen, we've received payment. Order is marked as paid, and you can then fulfill on that order. So again, an innovative way in a society where you've got a big part of the population is not banked, and where people are actually not able to pay you with the traditional plastic. They literally are using cash, and there has to be other innovative methods to get the money around. And then, of course, all sorts of currency challenges. You've got 50 odd countries in Africa. Every one of them has got their own currency. Every one of them has got their own exchange controls. Moving around money around in Africa is a nightmare. And so those are issues where you have to have specialists involved who can help you navigate that particular space. As I mentioned at the beginning, sort of when I headed this thing up, is poverty is a big problem. That obviously is a challenge because you can't sell to poor people, but it's also an opportunity because there's an opportunity to create small businesses with these people to help lift them out of poverty. So you got this emerging middle market, this emerging middle class. They are probably not keen to get involved in the MLM space. This poor sort of segment of the market are looking for opportunities where there's an extremely low barrier to entry. So you've got to be careful about what your starter kits cost, but where they can.
So extreme poverty is an issue because we can't sell to poor people, but it is also an opportunity. And there's something else to consider in some parts of Africa as well. There are issues with violence as well, right? And that makes someone even more vulnerable if they may not be able to just easily go to work or go to the doctor without having to be careful and make sure that they're aware of their surroundings. And all of those factors built on top of each other just make this conversation of opening MLMs in Africa all the more unethical, in my opinion. There is poverty everywhere, yes. There are very, very wealthy people in every African country, yes. But in my knowledge, I think there is more of a stark difference between those who are wealthy in some developing areas and those who are living in poverty. And it's just so unethical to be telling people to open up a business in these countries where they know that the majority of people are not going to make any money and that they're already extremely vulnerable, and you know this going in, but you're still advocating for it. I would say the exact same thing if he was telling MLM companies to target unhoused individuals in Toronto or Skid Row in Los Angeles, right? Where there's just thousands and thousands of people living in tents. Any discussion of targeting the most vulnerable people in any environment, in any country, in any city, in any province is extremely unethical because they need support, they need love, they need compassion. They don't need people targeting them and trying to exploit them when they're already at their most vulnerable state. It doesn't matter if it's in Toronto or in Uganda, it's the same general idea. You're targeting the most vulnerable populations that you can. I'm just blabbing a lot. Sorry, friends. I think saying unhoused is more accurate and more humane. I've adopted it in my language for sure. Sometimes I do. I have said homeless people as well. Like, I try my best, and sometimes like language can slip, and that's okay. Off topic ish fiction novel The Bandit Queens by Parini something or other is set in India, and micro loans to women is a major plot point. Dark humor, really great book. Definitely recommend. Interesting. And for people in systems where currency isn't the norm, are you just going to raid their homes, food, and goods? Oh, good point. Good point. Yes. Advocating to target the most vulnerable people. And the corruption is a real big problem. If you want to start anything, you'll have to pay off someone. Mm-hmm. This is so blatantly predatory. Tell me you're desperate without telling me. Exactly. Exactly. Karina has a video showing Princess House targeting the Latina community population in the US because of vulnerability. Exactly. 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 I'm going to say the same thing over and over again, exactly, like 1,000 times. Most of Africa has so many vulnerable people in less than stable situations in so many ways. Yep. Some are struggling with war and some are struggling with citizenship. How are they even supposed to register? Mm-hmm. Yep. I think the issues with unrest makes the experience of poverty in certain parts of Africa maybe a bit more unique than it is in Canada. Can't speak on the United States. I know nothing about it, but that adds a whole other layer of complexity. And like Rivka just said, could make it even harder for someone to register to be in an MLM company, to pick up their products. How are they supposed to do all the logistics behind having an MLM business?
And actually then take a really great product, sell it to the emerging middle class, and generate themselves an income, put a roof over their head and food on their table. So for me, this is one of the areas where MLM really shines. It provides us with an opportunity to give people businesses where the infrastructure of the entire company is behind them, where there's a very low barrier to entry, and where there's a high profit margin that they can generate if they work hard. So it's a case of just making it on the sweat of your brow. I mean, and that's what multi-level marketing is anyway, for me, in any case.
They can make it if they work hard. Again, I'm not going to talk about Africa because I don't know, but someone in Vancouver who is unhoused, who has a child, they're worried about making sure the needs of their child are met, that there's somewhere safe to sleep, that their child has food and has clothes. They're not worried about anything else, in my opinion. They're worried about basic survival, and someone who is just worried about providing their basic needs to their families, they have a different level of capacity to work their MLM business than someone who is living in low income but has a secure home, has a safe space to go to at the end of the day. So this whole argument of you can make it an MLM if you just work really hard, it's not relevant for those who are the most vulnerable in any city, any country, any province in the world. It's not relevant because people who are the most vulnerable need to use their time in different ways. And please tell me, I know this is a bit of a deeper topic. Tell me if anything I'm saying is like feeling weird or if you think I'm off base with anything. Please let me know.
One of the challenges is, though, a lot of the people who are working are earning minimum wage. And in a place like South Africa, minimum wage is $250 a month. So you can imagine that a person who's earning $250 a month is definitely looking for a side hustle. So again, there's an entire group of people who are looking to get into the MLM space, who are looking for a side hustle to generate some extra cash because what they're making from their job is not cutting it. Your products have to be affordable. So you've got to make them affordable. If you pitch them too high, the sale doesn't happen. A company like Tupperware, who's been in South Africa forever, is now basically closing down because the price point is too high to gain traction within the South African market anymore. So they're basically closing down in South Africa and moving out because they can't meet the price point. So you've got to be careful with the product you're bringing in, make sure that it is affordable. You have a problem with churn rate as well.
People who do work in South Africa, you said a lot of them make minimum wage. Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate that. That's so nice. A lot of them make minimum wage, and so of course they're looking for a side hustle. I said this 1,000 times right after school, grad school, when I was working pretty much full time, but part time as well. I was barely making enough to pay my bills and to get food, and I truly did not have an extra dollar to go towards a potential MLM business structure. And the idea that those who are living in low income, of course, want to have a side hustle. No, those living in low income can very carefully budget every dollar they make and make sure that everything they need is accounted for. And yes, they may have little bit of money left at the end of the month, but they may use that extra money to treat themselves to a meal or some ice cream or something to take care of their mental health as well. And they may not want to divert the tiny bit of money they have left over to an MLM scam, in my opinion. So the way to fix that problem is, advocate for raising the minimum wage, not selling people on a scam. Exactly, Lewis, exactly. Yes, poverty is an issue. Some female-led co-op micro businesses have forfeited on loans of $35 to $100. Does it not seem MLMers are even more exploitative, I can't say that word here, than in the first world? Yeah, potentially for sure. I wish I remembered the stuff I learned about the micro businesses. I don't. I used to know a lot about it.
Because what happens is a lot of these IBOs will join your business and they look for the low-hanging commission fruit. So
and he's calling them IBOs. That's an Amway thing. Why is he saying IBOs? Like independent business owners? Because for a while I thought that I was mishearing, and then with the subtitle it said IBO. Oh, I'm glad you're in this space as a content creator. Helping people learn about the twistiness and MLMs in the way you do is such a unique, special, and effective way to educate. Love your content, and thank you for being someone I learned from too. Woo, woo, woo. Thank you, DC. That is so kind and so lovely of you. I so appreciate the little community I've made here. People who have my back, who respect me, who want me to feel comfortable, and who say nice things about me. That is so nice. Everyone who is on here, you probably already know DC, but make sure you go check her out and watch all her videos. She is fantastic. Thank you so much, DC. Yeah, right? So lovely. Thank you, DC. Okay, he's talking about IBOs. Yeah, everyone's like, oh my gosh, DC, that's so nice. He's talking about IBOs and the churn rate.
Fast start bonuses and the quick cash payouts and all of that kind of stuff, they look for that. And they then go for that. Once they've got the fast start bonuses and the cash payouts, they leave and they're off for the next MLM company. So you have to make sure when you put your MLM business together that you don't have that low-hanging fruit, and that you focus on things like recognition and incentives and the social side of it as much as the money and the product. So you've got a great product, you've got a good compensation plan, but then you do excellent recognition and incentives, and you have this big social vibe where these people are part of something amazing, and that's the way you keep them, stop that churn. But it is a challenge that you have to really account for and manage for, because it's going to happen for sure.
Churn is a big issue in MLMs, especially he's right. There are lots of fast start bonuses at the beginning where people think that they're finding lots of success in their MLM. They go through the reward market really quickly and they make lots of money from all of the bonuses. And then in their second, third, or fourth month, they realize that it's a lot harder to make money in their company and they may move on. In the case of someone experiencing any level of poverty, I completely understand why someone would move to a different opportunity, a different company, a different job, because someone living in any level of poverty may not be worried about recognition and community. They may be worried about, okay, how am I going to pay my electric bill this month? How am I going to pay my Visa bill next month? And he's telling people who want to open their own company to not do fast start bonuses and instead focus on happy, rah feelings. So you have people living in poverty who feel connected to a community, who feel like they're surrounded by like-minded people, so they'll stay in longer and they won't just go to the next shiny object. And that's interesting. Like DC says, it's twisty. Aw, thank you, Charlene. I appreciate that. And it was so nice that all the people were so lovely and supportive after the stream turned out good yesterday or 2 days ago, but I felt real shitty about it. I did not feel good about it, and I did not feel good that I let it derail me at all. So I'm happy that people were like lovely and supportive and helped me feel better for sure. So thank you, Charlene. Yes, DC is definitely the MVP today. I completely agree.
There's other online challenges. The cost of data is exorbitant, specifically in South Africa, but throughout Africa, it's an area where the people are being quite badly stung. And then, of course, there's a lack of ubiquity in terms of access. So you can't get access to data just anywhere you are. Now, if a person's only earning $250 a month, they're very loath to go and spend some of that on data. So that's quite a difficult one for them to get around. And then there's a lot of skepticism around the technology. They're concerned about putting their cards, if they've got a card, into a website because they don't know what's going to happen to their money. They're scared that their money is going to be drained out of their account. They've got so little of it, they're trying to hang on to it. So it becomes a real problem. And so there's a lot of skepticism around there. And of course, that creates a problem. Then infrastructure. Oh, don't.
So those who are experiencing any poverty in any country may not have access to internet, may not have access to data. So if you don't have access to internet, how are you supposed to run your MLM business? Instead of pitching a scam to a family that doesn't have access to internet, maybe we should be advocating for more affordable internet rates so people can actually have the benefits of internet in the home, because it's not just for work, it's for also like connecting with people like your family and your loved ones in other countries in nearby. You can also do activities like social activities on the internet. You can access government services on the internet. It's a very valuable service to have access to. So I think it's easy for me to say we should do this, we should do that. I don't live in South Africa, but maybe he should be running a business where he's providing very affordable internet services to families who don't have access to internet in South Africa or in his city, instead of pitching this. And then data, he has a good point. If someone is only making $250 a month, why would they spend extra money on data in order to run their business? You are making wonderful points, Richard, and I wish you would think that through a little bit and determine whether or not you should be pitching, you should be encouraging people to open up a business structure of this kind in these areas where people don't have access to the basic services they need in order to run their business. Let's start an actual ethical MLM in Africa, south of Sahara, teaching people how to build easy water purification systems and give them the right to sell their knowledge for a small sum. Aside from the economic ramifications, that part really ticks me off is the emotional and religious exploitation that takes place with a lot of these MLMs. Exactly, Timberdan. Oh, no worries, Marie. You have a good point. Like, if you have money because you have your own company in South Africa, like, why don't you use your money to open a company that could actually help people, right? So I'm going to turn my camera off and put in some eye drops, and I'm just going to let it play for a bit while I do that, and then I'll turn my camera back on.
Don't get me started on infrastructure. South Africa, for example, at the moment has got anything between 6 and 10 hours a day where there's no electricity. Now imagine trying to run a business where for 6 to 10 hours of the day you don't have power. I mean, it's just insane. I don't know how you run a business like that. It's really, really difficult. People are putting in generators and putting on solar roofs and all of that kind of stuff, but it is quite a difficult problem to overcome. Shortage of skilled labor, real challenge. We've got a lot of labor, but not a lot of skilled labor. Courier costs can be exorbitant, and there's a lot of resistance to the cost of courier. When the products are quite low priced and the courier costs are too high, people become resistant. Now, there are some wonderful innovative solutions around getting your product to your customer, and there are companies that run pickup points throughout South Africa where you can have the product delivered within a kilometer of your house and then walk to collect it from that place. It's safe, it's secure. These places are all well vetted, and the company guarantees that the product will be there. So there's those kind of collection points. And then people have.
And he says in parts of South Africa, you won't have power for several hours of the day, and people have generators. And good point. How are people supposed to run a business without access to electricity so they can plug in their computers and they have access to an internet connection? How, instead of pitching your having your MLM CEO business, why can't you open up an electricity company where you provide affordable electricity to families in certain parts of certain cities? I think that would actually be really beneficial. He's also talking about the high price of couriers. So like mail delivery, if the products are cheap and the courier prices are high, people are less likely to actually want to buy these. And that also makes perfect sense, because if you are in any level of poverty and these products are expensive for you to get to your home, and you're already experiencing some financial instability and you don't really need the products, it makes sense that people aren't going to prioritize getting those products. Particularly with approved providers like LTD, Worldwide Dream Builders. Timberdan, have you watched any of my Amway streams? I don't know if you have. I can't remember. If not, you should check them out. I don't think I have LTD streams, but I'm pretty sure I have a Worldwide Dream Builder stream from a while ago, and Network 21 and Brit Worldwide, and so on. You might like those. Yeah, exactly, Gary. It's a good idea, and it's not fluffy. Exactly. I don't know how to run a business that way, so let me pitch you with this MLM. Also, not go with skilled or unskilled labor. It's devaluing. Exactly. So what? But what if they walk between your house and the collection site? Yes. What if it's not safe? Like, I live in an area in Canada, right? And there are certain times, certain places that I would not walk myself, especially at night. Sorry, my eye drops are dripping. That's a really good point. And so if you're experiencing financial instability, you're living in poverty, you may not feel like it's a priority for you to get these products. He's not making it sound all that great. Exactly. Yeah, he is quite smart, Timberdan, and he is well spoken. I don't mind listening to him, but like a lot of people in this industry, I wish he would divert his attention and his intelligence elsewhere where he could actually make a positive impact. That's a good point.
Runners. 10 people will band together, they'll buy X amount of the product, they'll give the money to a single person who will then literally run to the warehouse, pick up the product and bring it back. So there are some innovative, unusual solutions that if you are coming from a first world background that you'll not be used to. Getting product into the country can be a problem. There's all sorts of rules, and there's all sorts of authorities looking to dip their hand into your pocket, let me call it like that. So you've got to be very careful that you cross your T's, dot your I's. You must give nobody any reason to seize your product or stop your product at the border. There must be no possible reason for them to do that, because if they can, they're going to stop it. And then they're going to want some sort of compensation for letting it go. Now, that doesn't happen everywhere, but it happens often enough for it to become a legitimate concern. And so the idea would be, if you are bringing product into Africa, make sure that you've got all of the laws sorted out. You know exactly how things are working. All your paperwork is 100% in order, so you don't get stopped at the border. And then there's.
I think Charlie said earlier he's not making it sound that great. I think Charlie might have been saying that in relation to opening up an MLM in Africa. You're right, Charlie. He's not making it sound that great, because he said you can't sell to poor people when there's a lot of extreme poverty. There's no infrastructure. There's no internet connection. A lot of people don't have bank accounts. It's really hard to get products in and out of the country. It sounds like there's a lot of, according to him, there's a lot of requirements, a lot of planning, a lot of really detailed knowledge that goes into opening up an MLM in an African country. So he's not really selling a potential MLM CEO on this opportunity, in my opinion.
All sorts of taxes and duties that you might not be aware of. So you need to get your head around it. For example, in South Africa, you've got a thing called ad valorem tax. If the government deems that your product is a luxury good, then they slap an ad valorem tax on. Now, what an ad valorem tax is that if, let's say you sell your product for 200 rands, but a distributor buys the product at a 50% discount, so they get it for 100 rands. The ad valorem tax is billed, let's say it's 15%. I can't remember what it is. Let's say it's 15 or 20%. It's not billed on the amount of money you received. It's billed on the amount of money that you say you're going to retail it for. So it's billed on the full 200 rands. You only received 100 rands, but they bill you on the full 200 rands. So
if that's true, I'm not going to fact check it, but why would we want to open up our MLM business there if we're only getting the 100 rands from it, the 100 rands from our sale, but we are getting taxed on the, I almost knocked over one of my husband's things, but we're getting taxed on the actual price, like the retail price of it, even though we're not getting that amount. You're not making it sound good, sir. Like, this does not sound appealing. Hi, Julie. How's it going? Have fun on your beach trip.
there's those kind of things that you've got to just watch out for, just be aware of, and then make sure that you're actually in a position to account for it within the payment structure, within your commissions and within your profit structures. Paying commissions, well, that's another one. If you're in Central Africa, you can pay the commissions via M-Pesa, so you can pay it in airtime, not a problem. Places like South Africa, you can issue people with bank accounts, so you can get them into a bank, connect them with a bank, and help them get an account. Say to them,
Where did my face
bank
go?
account, there are banks which will help them.
Can you see me? My screen went black. I'm going to turn my camera off for a second. That was really weird. So he's saying you can help issue people bank accounts and you can connect them to a bank, get them signed up. In my area, in like most major cities in Canada, there are things like payday loan banks, and there's not just the big main bank branches, there are smaller ones as well. And I wonder if you are trying to set people up with a bank account to make sure that they can join your MLM, would you connect them with a bank that is actually reputable and legitimate? Or would it be one that has really, really high interest rates that may or may not be preying on people who are financially vulnerable? And when you're setting the people up with these bank accounts, are we also providing them with the education that is required for them to actually know how to use their bank account properly and the benefits of the bank account? Or are we just willy-nilly getting them an account so we are able to invite them to join our MLM business structure? Because if it's just willy-nilly setting them up, then that is not good, and that is also predatory. Oh, you could see me, but the audio glitched a little. Okay, so you saw me until I turned the camera off. Okay, because my whole screen went black, and then it looked like my connection was really bad. So when my connection is bad, I just turn my camera off for a bit, and then it usually calms down. I'm just trying to clean my glasses. Okay, I'll try to turn my camera back on.
There are challenges related to getting your money out to people that need to be addressed. Fraud is a huge one. You need to watch your people. You know, when I work in Europe, it's not something that is on top of everybody's mind. You know, yes, we have to have security and we're checking everybody, we're keeping everybody safe. But in Africa, there seems to be a penchant for trying to defraud the company. We've had a slew of these. But
fraud is everywhere. Fraud happens everywhere. There are desperate people everywhere. I understand what he's saying, I guess, but I think there's still going to be fraud within the MLM business structure in Canada too. What do you think about that?
Most recent one of our clients had a staff member who was processing orders in one of the people's names there, in one of the staff members' names. They must have found their password or something, got into the system, was processing large orders in this person's name, then going in, logging in as the accountant, marking the orders paid, even though no money had come in. The product was being collected by an end user, and there was about 10 of them involved in this. The end user would then go out, sell the product, and split the money with a staff member. And this went on for months. Now, easy to miss, because if you've got 1,000 orders a day coming in, it's difficult to track where everything's happening. Eventually, they found out, because suddenly there's millions of rands missing out of the bank account. It came to the surface, and of course, they'd been defrauded. They tracked it down to who the staff member was. They caught them, and of course, there was a jail sentence at the end of that. But the issue is that you've got to watch for that, and you've got to make sure your processes and your systems are absolutely watertight, because you can get yourself into a bit of trouble on that. And then, of course, now that you've made all of this money in the country, you need to get that money out. Now you want to repatriate that cash to the States or to wherever.
Now you've made all this money in the country off the backs of people who do not, according to him, who do not have access to internet, to data, who do not have a bank account, who don't have access to infrastructure. There's just a lot of, according to him, there are a lot of forces working against people in different African countries to find success in an MLM. And there's also a lot of forces working against potential MLM CEOs who want to open their companies in Africa. Scammers hate being scammed, don't they? And I could, that exact same thing could happen in like Montreal, Canada, or in California. It's not just unique to Africa, just like poverty isn't unique to Africa, of course. The Czech Republic is legendary for systemic corruption and fraud, as are many former East Bloc countries. Interesting. I'm just thinking it's funny they're worried, oh, we're getting scammed on their scammy MLM. Exactly. Oh, hi, Mr. Ranger Lab. No problem. We're almost done, but if you'd like, you can catch the replay. Thank you for being here. Yeah, make a bunch of money, then leave, and don't worry about the effects of the MLM business structure on different communities, different cities, and villages across Africa. And I wonder how deep this recruitment effort would go. Would you focus just on people in the cities, or would you focus on those on the outskirts who don't have as much access to like the services in the city, but could still walk or ride their bikes into the city to access the services? Like, I wonder about that. I'm also from Chicagoland, which is huge, not specifying where exactly. Good job. The entire state of Illinois is considered the fraud black hole of the USA. Interesting. And do you call like the greater area, like, is that Chicagoland like the greater Chicago area? Is that like the metropolitan area? Like Toronto is the greater Toronto area? Is that what that is? South Africa is so far away from poor, but has the same issue, pockets of poverty. Like a lot of places do, right? Yeah, every Canadian city you will walk through, you will think, oh, this is cute, this is trendy, and then you'll be in an area with more poverty. And there are differences depending on the city that you are in. In some, it changes really quickly. You'll think you're in a more trendy area of the city, and then you realize you're not, and then you are again, and then you're not. And every city in Canada has a different dynamic of poverty. There are different needs of people who are experiencing poverty. Like in certain parts, you may see more trigger warning substance use. You may see more public drug use of different severities. In other areas, you may see more violence on the streets. That's another thing to consider too. People experience poverty differently. People have different challenges associated with poverty in different parts of Canada and different parts of Africa. And someone experiencing poverty may be able to get themselves to a computer to run their MLM business, while someone else also experiencing a similar level of poverty may not be able to even think about accessing a computer. Chicagoland is Chicago and its many, many suburbs, probably from Chicago up to an hour from the city. Interesting. Cool. My glasses are filthy. I'm going to clean them.
You are, and this is not easy. So the countries love to get the money in, but they do not want to let the money out. So you've got to make sure that you've worked through all the exchange.
I never commented on Gary's thing, and you now want to repatriate that money and get it out of the country. He said the worst part out loud. He's intelligent and appears thoughtful, but what a douche. Exactly, right? Like, you are, like, we're making all this money. You want to get it out to benefit you and to benefit your company, but there's no consideration of, okay, how is this actually helping people in the countries, in the cities? How are we contributing to community well-being? Are we advocating government to build more safe roads? Are we helping people meet their needs in any way? No, it's just, you got the money. Now let's get the money out of the country, right?
controls, that you understand exactly how you get your money out before you get started. And I would recommend getting in touch with a good auditing company that understands doing business with foreign companies well, so that you've got mechanisms in place to repatriate your cash and the profits that you make going forward. So I know this painted quite a bleak picture. There's a lot of things to deal with when you're working in Africa, but the beauty is that it's a ripe market. It's where the States was 50, 60 years ago. It's where Europe was 50, 60 years ago. You know, when people were hungry for opportunity, when Amway and Avon and all of these companies were experiencing the massive booms, that's where Africa is at the moment. It's an emerging middle class. There's wealth being created, and there are people who are willing to do the business to tap into that wealth. So if you're interested in doing business in Africa and you'd like to start an MLM business, please don't hesitate to get in touch with me. I'm more than happy to have a chat with you and see how we can help you and put you in touch with the people who can help you if I can't. So I'd love to hear from you. You can find me on LinkedIn, Richard Sletcher on LinkedIn, or the MLM for CEOs LinkedIn account. And of course, my email address will be in the bottom of this podcast. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, do all of those good things, you know, the like and the bell and the subscribe. Really appreciate that. And I'll see you in the next podcast.
So that's the video I wanted to talk about. I thought it was interesting to hear someone tell potential MLM CEOs how to target the most vulnerable people who have such little access to basic needs. People living in poverty may often struggle to put food on their table, clothe their children, have a safe and secure place to live. And it's just, I remember hearing, oh, if they just work hard, they'll make money. No. If anyone has ever experienced a time of financial instability, when I went through that time of my life, like a lot of people do, I have focused on, okay, I need to budget really carefully. I need to make sure I don't miss my shifts. I need to be always aware of how much I'm spending. And I truly would not have had the money to even start an MLM business, let alone continue to buy in month after month. Just like there's poverty everywhere, yes, but when you're in such a diverse continent, it is really problematic to give just blanket advice that is not relevant for every single country. It's not even relevant for all of South Africa, because like Gary said, like white South Africa could be fairly posh, while those who are not white in South Africa may experience more extreme poverty. Dynamics in every African city and every Canadian city are different, and you can't just have one blanket statement that will work for everyone. I feel like I'm rambly. I feel like I might have said everything I wanted to say. Okay, in other words, I want to be on the top of the pyramid. It was a really great video. It got me really angry. It got me angry too, because he literally said, you can't sell to poor people, but poverty is also a really great opportunity. I'm going to turn me back up. I don't know if I actually turned me down or not. Sorry if I didn't, friends. I hope the audio is okay. I'll give a listen after this, just skim through it quick to make sure that we can actually hear me. But he said poverty is an opportunity because people need a way to have a roof over their head and food on their table. Give them a well-paying job then. Help them go back to school. Help them watch their kids so both parents can go to work to provide for their families. Don't recruit them into your fraudulent business structure. Half of my head is cut off by my blur. So I am extremely relieved that this was a nice, relaxing stream. I was a little bit nervous that I was going to have to be blocking people again. So I'm really happy it was just my friends here, and that Aaron was nice enough to raid me. That was so nice. And that there's still 28 of you here at the very end of my stream. That is really cool, and I really appreciate everyone who came from Aaron and anyone who visited throughout this, and all the friends who are still here. That is so nice. I learned stuff from both you and all your fans. It was a good night. Thank you, Gary. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Ove. Thank you, Charlene. Yay. So I'm going to go live again, not until Monday. My friend Anne-Marie and I have a stream planned, and it's going to be great. It's going to be awesome, and I hope you guys can join us Monday at 6:30 That would be great. This was different and very interesting. You're welcome, Charlie. Thank you for being here. So, again, thank you to DC for being so lovely and so supportive and giving me this awesome super chat. Thank you to all my friends in the chat, and I will see you all on Monday. Bye.